Hey guys, welcome. This is Micah from MicahDoodles. I'm going to be doing this Model 15 Eagle tour bus, and super excited about this. Neil and Johnny, if you guys are on here, you guys can feel free and comment in, but this is the one we're going to be doing today, and excited about this. This is kind of a new adventure for me in 2019, and looking forward to working with these guys and getting all this stuff done. So we're going to go ahead and get all this stuff taken care of here. I'm starting looking at my photos that I've got for reference. And I'll just kind of drop my opacity down here a little bit so that I can kind of zoom in here and begin to have some fun with this thing. So I've got it all pretty much laid out like I want it to. And now it's just a matter of inking this thing in and turning it into a piece that is going to be definitely fun to draw and to have on file. This is probably going to be one that we're going to be actually creating shirts with, so it's going to be pretty cool. So I'm actually just looking right now. I'm flipping through my photos that I was using for references to find the picture that I want to use for my reference photo, and then we're going to get started on here. So hopefully you guys are doing well. I'll kind of pipe in and as I can glance over at my comments as I'm moving forward through it, but appreciate you guys popping in and checking out what I'm doing here with MicahDoodles. And so we're going to get started here now. So for those who aren't familiar with how I do my stuff, typically I sketch it out. I've sketched it out in another program called Procreate on my iPad Pro since I was out and about. I wasn't down at my desk. After that is done, I'll just email that sketch to the client. After his approval, then I'm just going to take it downstairs where I'm at now and put it on my Wacom Cintiq. And then I'll be sketching it in using a program called Sketchbook Pro. And then I'll be doing all my finished line work and all my stuff that I typically do when I'm doing a design for a client. So hopefully that helps. Let's get started here, and I'll just start inking in these lines here. So I always like doing these, just kind of being real loose and kind of coming up with a fun little design for it. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm basically putting in where the lug nuts go on here, and then I'll add in and erase the lines in here so that I can nail it down and really get it exactly as I want it to be. We use this black line here to put the tire on, where I'm adding in some shadow and details. All right, so we're kind of nailing this down. I'm just basically adding things in, kind of tightening things up. When I start adding in some of my other layers, I'll tighten those things up as well. So let's see, one of the things I want to do real quick, just give me about a couple, just about a minute. I need to make sure I set my iPad to 15 minutes so that it doesn't go dark on me here. All right, back to where we need to be. Okay, let's get. So then after I get my tire in, I'm gonna go ahead and move my way over to the bumper section. So what we're going to be doing on this, the panels down here, these are all going to be aluminum fluted panels. I believe that's the word I'm looking for. Hey, Kelly, how you doing? And kind of be adding that stuff in there, getting a little bit of difference in the way that looks. Let me just make sure I'm zooming out here and everything's looking okay. I may end up bending that up a little bit, but I think for the most part, I think we're all right. I want to wrap this around there like that. Just got to get my perspective right here for a second. There we go. I'm going to get those lights in here. What's the fun thing about cartooning is you have a little bit more freedom and some flexibility to kind of make mistakes. And what I mean by that is there's not a lot of judgment on how you do your drawing, which means that it's more of an interpretation rather than you look at it and you go, well, hey, that doesn't work because mine doesn't have that. Whereas you're building it up and you're making decisions as you're drawing this thing according to how the artist wants it to be, and so which is great. Hey, Rick, how you doing, buddy? Which is great for me because I like to be able to have a little bit of freedom when I'm designing my stuff. I mean, everybody has their own style, and you get used to a certain style that you have, and people can kind of even get used to that, and they're like, oh, hey, that looks like Micah's work, or that looks like Scott Fist's or Johnny Jalopi's work. And so people just kind of get used to different artists' interpretations and renditions of how they do their work. And so it's definitely fun. I really like doing this stuff. And what we're going to do there, we just take a look at what I've got going on here so far. Got the bus in there. I'll probably put those lights on, so I'm going to go ahead and hey guys. Yeah, I'm having fun again. Just finished hanging out with the kids. Now I got some free drawing time, which I'm going to take advantage of that. Don't always get that, so I'm going to go ahead and have some fun with that. So kind of making my way up here, or working my way around this drawing here. I've kind of already got the base of this. Now, on this bus, it's definitely going to be rounded. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pull kind of, let me see this. There's my blinker. So on this, rather than having a hard edge where it runs from here, we're going to basically, I know that I'm going to run my bus this way, but I'm not going to put that line there because I'm going to bend that around the edge. So rather than that, I'm actually going to put that blinker in, which will then help to make that transition there. Let me just come up here. Actually, I'm going to do this here and redo that so I can line everything up like I'm supposed to. So I want that blinker to kind of tie in with that one here. And then let's go ahead and jump on I'm just going to erase this line now that I know where it is. And that just kind of helps me as I'm thinking about what to add in here, because I'm going to add the mount here for the rear view mirror. There we go. Okay, now we're going to jump into this window here. Again, when I'm drawing these buses or when I'm drawing any vehicle, I always like to kind of see where my sketch lines are, but then I'm going to go in and I'm going to tighten things up on my finished line art, which really I think makes things come alive here. And what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and darken this up in here in this window. Got a really thick piece of rubber that runs around the edge of here, so we're going to kind of over exaggerate that, and it's trying to stay with the, as I found out, trying to stay consistent with the angle of the windshield, because these Model 15s, the window does rake back rather than go forward a little bit. So those of you guys who are familiar with these are like the old type of Greyhound buses. There we go. All right, so we're getting this thing all rolling in here. Let me go ahead and add in my highlights here. Darken up these windows. I'll go back here and I'll actually add the white outline on this so I can get that little bit of white outline going through those front ends of that bus. That's what I want to do. So what I want to make sure and do on this front end is kind of over exaggerate it a little bit, so I've got a little bit of that bend going here. That way you can see a little bit of roundness happening within that bus. All right, so now we're rolling with this thing. Let me make sure that I've tapped into all my. There we go. I'm going to run that. Oops. We're going to run this all the way down here like this. So as soon as I get my basic lines in here, then what I'm going to do is start kind of opening this stuff up and pulling in. Now obviously on the cartoon version, I'm not going to draw on as many lines, and that's okay because, again, it's a cartoon. And so people are going to realize that it's going to have a lot of windows, but Hi, Angel. Okay, so we're rolling from this. All right, so then what we want to do is, let's get over, jumping over here. make sure all these corners are definitely rounded, so I'm going to come in here and now we're kind of moving through here. I'll come back here to the back side of this bus. We're not going to drop the rear end of this thing down. So I'll probably come in here and tighten up some of these lines in here as well. All right, kind of making our way down here. Let's go ahead and jump down here with these tires. So one of the things that I think I might want to do as I was looking at this bus, as I was kind of working through it, if I'm going to probably change some of the direction of these. I'm going to draw them in right now, but then I'm going to rotate them a little bit because I think I can do a little better job on that angle. And so I want to make that angle a little bit specific, a little bit different than what I have. So I'm gonna draw it in right now as I have it. And I'm gonna go back in and change it. Again, adding in the little bolts on there. Add a little bit of shadow underneath here. darken up what's going on here as well. All right, so then what I'm going to probably end up doing is rotating. Oops. I want to rotate this angle just a little bit. I like what's going on, but I think I can probably make this thing a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make my change right now. So I can always kind of move my wheels of my bus or whatnot. I'm going to change the shape up a little bit, and I'm going to scale them down a little bit as well, just so I can get them exactly as I want them to be, kind of like that. So I'm going to run with that angle right there. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so then what's going to happen with the back of this bus, I want this thing to run down like that, just so it has a little bit more of a rear end on it. And then I'm going to make it, tighten it up, and hit it to this end right here. So what I'm going to do before I put in the little, what's it called? Got the fender things in there, but I'm going to add in some other things in here. Those vents back here, I'll darken all those guys in real quick, just so I can see where they are. And I'll go ahead and start editing those. With my white tool later on. I'm just kind of putting them as a filler, and then I'll tackle in those things and make them look a little better. All right, so what I want to do now that I've kind of got the shape of that, let's go ahead and add the shadow on here so that I can darken all this in. Kind of give it something like that. I may just kind of leave a little bit of the tire fading into that white. All right, so anyway, from there, let's go ahead and jump into adding the flutes on the sides of this bus. So what we want to do in this is I've kind of got them drawn in as I want, and so what I want to do is I want to kind of bend them around. So from the door, it looks like from the door of this bus, we're going to drop this thing down. There's a couple things that I want to focus on. on how I'm going to do these. I'm not going to draw on every single one, but I am going to draw on a few. And so what I kind of want to do is I kind of want to build off of some of these lines that I've already made over here. And then fill them through. I'm going to kind of make them rounded at those ends just to show that they are more dimensional. I'll tighten some of that stuff up again as too. Hey Neil, welcome buddy. All right, so what we got going on here, let's go ahead and draw on so you can kind of start seeing how some of these little flute things are working here. I'm going to go ahead and just draw on really lightly some edges like that. And when I start adding my shadows in there, it's really going to help define it. So what I've kind of got is I've got my lines that I'm going to run with. So then what will happen is when I come in here, I'm going to erase a little bit of that just to show that it overlaps. What's fun about the cartoon is you don't have to necessarily worry about getting everything perfect, because for me, I'm going to go ahead and when I go back in and do this aluminum, I'm going to go ahead and throw some white over the top of those lines, which will kind of give a little highlight. We'll make those things pop. That little extra shadow over there will be really nice. That's what I mean. Paul, yeah, I'm working from a picture. But I figured I'd just kind of explain as I'm walking through what I'm doing on this and how I do these this fluted aluminum. I don't even know if that's the word you use, but works for me, so. And I'll tighten all this up in here later because I'm going to probably put some stuff in there as well, but this will just help with giving me a reference point of where I've got this thing going on and how I'm going to be doing these screens back here for the bus where the engine is. Just to have fun with it back there. Okay. All right, so then we're pulling the aluminum all the way up to the top. So I'm going to throw another line over here. Now another fun thing to do is to put those eyelets and eye bolts in there. But for this one, I don't believe you see that on the bus, so I'm not going to do that. But it's always another fun thing to do. Let's go ahead and put our blinker over here. I'm going to go ahead and draw a line coming down from here, which is basically going to be where those little compartments are for storage. Now I'm not going to draw them all. Oops, I kind of messed this one up. Let's do this for a second here. I'm going to move this one over. So I want to be able to have this line here where this other compartment is. There we go. Just so I have some little bit of storage area. I need to put a little bit of a handle down here, so we'll do that real quick. This one and this one. Kind of looking at that now. Let's go ahead and make sure that I've got that fluting looks good over here. One thing that I did see that looks kind of cool on here, which I didn't think about that before, is to do a little bit of a thicker line like that. All right, so I think we're definitely making progress on this bus. Okay. All right. All right, let's see what I got going on here. Now, the black, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to do a little bit of a some more layers up here, some more elements that I've seen. And I'm going to kind of over-exaggerate these angles over here at the end, because what's kind of fun, you know, to be able to think about when you're drawing the back end of the bus, just to have things that are, so you don't have just straight lines. But you've got different things in there which are kind of adding to the fun of the drawing. The contour, what I mean by that, and the shape, things like that, where you've got different things that are making it a little bit different here. So let's go ahead and put in this other mirror here. There we go. Kind of something like that. And what's neat about that is you now have this difference where the shape, you got these cool shapes going on, which I think everything is just going to add to it. So now that I've kind of got my basic line art done in there, for the most part, let me kind of figure that out. Okay, basic line art's done, and then we're going to now start adding in the shadows on here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase my background layer here, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to then add a layer on here, and this layer is going to be a shadow layer. So I'm going to basically take my opacity on here, drop my opacity, I'll show you guys, drop my opacity to about 30%. And then from that 30% or 28%, I'm going to still keep it black, and I'm going to then begin to add in my shadows in here. So this is when I'm going to bump it up and then start creating these shadow layers. And this layer is going to go just underneath my inking layer. So that's where I'm going to start getting some variations in some of those colors. And then so this being chrome, I'm going to go ahead and figure out how I'm going to run this. I'll probably end up knocking out, erasing some stuff in here as well. But this begins to just help me now. What I was talking about with the fluting, what I'm going to do is just underneath the main things, I'm going to put the shadow. Just to give a little bit more depth to that. There we go. Now I'll begin to start erasing some of my lines as I'm kind of working my way through here as well. On the back side of the white under Bobby, hold on the back side of the white under the windows, may a little curb in or out might look cool. Oof. Right here, you curving it around. Sorry, I don't quite understand what you mean. Let me wait till I get there and we can talk about it, okay? So when I'm jumping in here to doing detail work, I'm going to change up my brush struck to a sharper angled one, so I can get some tighter lines in here, some line work, especially when I'm adding in like little flips like this. I want to make sure that end is really tight on there. Just adds to the adds to the drawing. So that's kind of what I'm going to do. Kind of move my way through here. Oh, where I'm doing the chrome. Man, sorry, Bobby. I missed that last thing. I know you're probably got some good advice for me too. I just I'm gonna put the Eagle logo in there too. Hey, thanks. Sorry. Yeah, I, I wanna be able to grab what I've got, but here's the problem: is sometimes when I'm doing these drawings, I have my son with me, and my son can read my comments while I'm drawing it because I've got this phone sitting to the left of me, and I don't always get to see my comments unless I glance up, and then if I get a bunch of comments at one time, then I miss them all together, and then I'm like, what? So sorry about that, guys. But hey, appreciate you guys chiming in, and appreciate those comments coming my way as well. So we're just going to go ahead and so here's the other thing. Neil, let me ask you this, since you're on here. Do you want wipers or no wipers on this bus? If you can help me out with that, I'd appreciate that. Oh, I forgot my blinker too. I'll have to take care of that. All right, so what I'm going to do here on this side, when I draw in this blinker here, I forgot. Let's just put that in there real fast. I'm going to go ahead and erase this line here because I'm going to use the edge of the. I'm going to use my edge of my shadow to define that edge of that line. Same thing over here. Yes, on wipers. Okay, you got it. Another reason why I like having my clients on here when I'm drawing, because then if I miss something, a lot of times they can help me out when finding something that I missed. All right, so you can see what I did is I'm running that shadow that I had on here along this edge to kind of define that angle right there, rather than putting that hard line in there, which is really helpful. I could do probably the same thing here, but since I don't have a hard edge line, I'll probably put a soft edge going around the edge of there. Whoa, sorry guys. I'm going to turn this up here so I can go ahead and all right, so bus is coming together. 3 lights in the top center of the crown. Oh, yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Neil. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna go over exaggerate these things like this. There we go. And I'll light those things up too, so they'll look pretty cool. Okay, wipers, let's get those guys taken care of before I forget. So what I'm going to do on these is I'm actually going to use an eraser tool, and I'm going to drive them straight in here because I don't need to be super exaggerated and exact on these. Because all people just need to see is that they're there. So there's no point in going overboard with the wipers. There we go. Okay, then I'll tighten up some details here within some of these graphics, or within some of these angles in here later on. Probably want to start adding in some of my whites in there. But now that I've got this thing roughed in pretty close to how I want it, let me now add in these light fixtures here. Let's get that eagle drawn in here too. Forgot about that. So what we're going to do on the eagle is I'm going to do a real simple rendering of the shape. So the shapes, drop my brush down here a little bit. We're going to do the main body. Oh gosh, come on. Small brush. Wing here, wing here. Basically build it in like this. Just give a real rough without going crazy. There you go. We're going to kind of keep it on the down low like that. All right, so we have got this thing ready to go. The bus is in action, drawn up. Let me go ahead and add in some larger shadow areas on here, just to kind of fill things in. All right, here we go, and then almost done. Sorry guys, I keep finding things as I'm moving through here. Also, I'm gonna tighten up some stuff in here too. I'll do that with a white pen outline when I'm done, just to make sure everything is all right. One of the things I do want to do here is, now I've got using my eraser tool, so you can notice that this edge, what makes it real interesting when I'm doing my shadow work is not to completely fill it in. I like to have a little bit of white showing up where some of these lines are, and then also a little bit of highlight line coming through sometimes just plays a really cool part, like you're getting some highlight from the background like that. And then if I actually just wanted to add in some more line work, I can do that just as a reflective surface, kind of like that. Looks kind of cool. Same thing down here. We can do the same thing with this to follow this contour. All right, I think we're ready to roll on here. So then what we're going to go ahead and do now, we're going to now jump into our color layer. Make sure Okay, adding this layer here. This is going to be our color layer. So let's go ahead and start on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my background layer here now to a gray, which is going to help me then, because when I'm putting in white, I want to make sure that chrome is actually a color. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to do the top of this bus black. So I'm going to go ahead and just color it in real quick, everything that I know where it's going to be. I'll go back in and touch it up, but for me, it's just laying in the color first. And I'm going to do the windows different, but I want to get the main body in there. And again, I'm coloring over everything, because what's going to happen is all my colors are going on one layer. So I'm going to stack colors on colors. So if I went over something and it doesn't look, it looks like the windows, obviously, I'm not going to fill them all in, because those are going to be pretty much black, darker black, and I'll add some shadow on there, but I want to make sure that I've got this color nailed down pretty good on here. Okay. All right, let's come through here, take a look at what else I've got that's going to be black. Probably going to do my tires down here. Obviously, those are going to be black, so let's tackle that. Okay, then we're going to do all the areas that are going to be chrome on here are basically going to be white, and I'm going to build up off that here. I had an idea. I was talking to Johnny and Neil about doing a hot rod bus and just kind of taking the same idea and the same concept, but doing something really radical with it for a cool t-shirt design for Eagle. Hey, Jer.
Yep.
Can you not jump around? Because you hear that noise?
Yeah, it's Jaden.
Thanks.
Sorry.
No, sorry.
Oh my gosh. Jaden! Stop bouncing the ball. Stop bouncing the ball. Stop.
All right, now kind of working my way through here, touching up some areas where the chrome is going to be. Okay, tires are in, things like that. Let's go ahead and finish up the black. I missed some areas in here. Neil, do you want chrome mirrors? Yeah, the definitely I want to do. If I'm going to put a rotted eagle in there, I'm gonna if I'm going to do a rotted out eagle bus, I'm definitely going to put an eagle driver in there. It's going to be pretty cool. So we'll think about that. So really laying in this flat color in here first. Then I'll go ahead and start adding in the all right, I'm going to chrome out these mirrors.
Did you find my sweatshirt?
Nope. All right, got that done here. Let's get the blinkers and everything all taken care of. The color orange that we want. Probably need to have a couple more of those things scattered throughout the bus, I'm sure, but like there's one back here which I forgot to put in. I'll have to do that. As long as we get that flat color in there, I think it's going to start looking really cool. So we've actually got one back here, but you can't see it because of this fender. So I'm just going to leave that one there and go from there. Okay. Oh, there is one up here at the top, huh? Looks like a driving light up here. So we're going to add that in there. Oops, sorry, guys. I bumped my camera. It looks like it's a driving light, so I'm just going to put that in there real quick. All right, so now you can kind of see how this thing's coming together. I got all my flat colors on here. Everything's kind of flattened out. Looks pretty good as we're moving forward. Let me go ahead and just make sure I'm touching a couple areas. Make sure you're doing okay. All right. All right, good deal. So then what we're going to do now is we're going to now jump into a layer which is just above my color layer, which I'll show you over here, just above my color layer. And this layer is going to be where I'm going to start now adding my highlights to that. So we'll jump into that. Let me save that. And so to do that, I'm going to go ahead and find a, oh, whoops, I forgot to add my white down here. Sorry. Let's go back in there. I didn't finish up all my white in here. Let's do that. All right. All right, so there's the bus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this background a little bit so you guys can kind of see. Whoops, hold on here. My bad. You can kind of see now where the edge of that box is when I'm doing my drawing here. All right, so that's basically where I'm going to run with this. Now I'm going to start adding in those highlight layers. So what I'm going to do is go in here with my my airbrush tool and kind of just start defining some of these areas where I want to see a really cool light source on there. So basically going to kind of splash some light across the top. And then along also, what I want to do is put that along the edge of tires. I'm going to start accenting certain things on here with more of a brighter white. So what that's basically doing is it's now starting to give a little bit more of dimension on here. Let's erase that real quick. Yeah, this will really start pulling this stuff. So you can start seeing it starting to pull some of that realism into that. I'll just go in here and edit in some of this stuff where, there we go. So you can kind of start, I'm kind of digging it now. So then what we're going to do is I'm also going to pull in my blues in there for the top of the windows. So this is what I'm going to pull that in here. All right, and any type of overspray, what I'll do is I'll come back in here since it's on its own layer, and I'll just begin to kind of let me go back in here and fix this real quick, guys. I'm going to redo that real fast because I want to make sure that I've got it right. I'll walk you through that and do that again. Okay. So I'm hitting heavy basically on top and letting it fade into that white down there. So I've kind of got this little bit of a, there you go. Yeah, I'm going to do that probably, I'll do a little glow. I'll do something kind of fun. We'll figure out what I'm going to do on the back. I'm not quite sure yet. So I'm going to erase any of my overspray that I have in here. There we go. Kind of making those windows come alive a little bit. That's kind of the goal. Let's get a little bit more blue up in here. All right, so we've got my white layer in there. Definitely a shorty vest, isn't it? Yeah. All right, so what we got going on here is we're going to go ahead and hit some of these highlights here with this blue as well on this chrome. So we're gonna start tackling what's going on up here. All right, now to do the bumper, let's go ahead and get that. We're gonna hit some areas up top here, just where I want that blue to kind of resonate and drop down to. And we're also gonna mix that up with a little bit of dark. And so what's going to happen, you can see it looks a little muddy right now, and that's okay, because what I'm going to do is go in there with some highlights that I'm going to use to help draw in some cool features in there. So let's go ahead and get this tackled in here real quick. All right. All right, now what we're going to start doing now is tackling some of this gray in here. So because we've got silver in there, what we want to do is we're actually going to add a little bit of a darker silver color in here. And what I'm going to do is begin to airbrush those in those flutes like this. So I'm gonna kind of throw it in. Letting the white come through a little bit. I don't know if you can see that yet, but I've got a little bit of white shining through on here. See that? It's probably hard to really recognize now, but I'm trying to go in between these flutes, or these ribs, maybe that's a better word, to get the color that I want. Adding a little bit of gray in there and darkening that up as well. All right, So then we've got a little bit, you can kind of see what's going on here now with that fluting in here. So then what we're going to do now is I'm going to jump up into my light layer. And this is where I'm going to start adding in some lights. So what I want to do is and I'm assuming that for the blue lights, you guys are probably running those H4s rather than a yellow color light. So I'm going to go ahead and run with that H4 blue in there. And then what I'll do is I'll start pulling in those white highlights in there. Let me redo this one a little bit because I'm not quite happy with it yet. There we go. And then to add a little bit to that, we're going to go ahead and add this layer. This layer is going to be a white layer, and what I'm also going to do is on this bus, I'm going to possibly drop a little bit of shadow I'm debating if I'm going to do that or not. Possibly not. I think I'll be all right. All right. Let's throw in some white highlights on here. just on some of this chrome area. All right, so what we're gonna do, we've got the bust done, just about. Let me throw in this layer here. This layer is gonna be a area where I'm gonna bump this up to about 35%. And what I'm gonna do is add little highlights on this bus, little accents. This is why when I had those layers in there, and I had them darker. I had made them a little bit muddy. The reason why was to do it this way. Forgot to add a little bit of there we go. Yeah, this will be cool. So this will be awesome when we're all done with this thing. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'll go back in here, add in my highlights. And so what I'm going to end up doing here, you can see now where I'm starting to add a little bit of the highlight coming through the bus on some of the paint, as well as some of these graphics in here. There you go. Those little subtle edges really add a lot to this. This is where I'm adding that extra detail too, which kind of pulls all that stuff together as well. Well, Jeremy, we can probably get you a bus. We're going to be having this product for sale. Probably as soon as I finish it up and Neil and Johnny get it all up on the site, it's probably going to be available for sale and probably start purchasing it. I think it's going to be a hot item. Not a lot of bus stuff that I've seen out there, so. All right, so let's start putting the shine on these windows. Remember what I said before, I was going to tighten them up a little bit. So I'm using this opacity, this white kind of opacity line to kind of draw a line to the edge of here so I can bring it down. And have some fun with those edges there. I can do the same thing up here as well. Yeah, that's what I heard. Those Eagle, you guys, Neil was telling me, those Eagle guys are diehards. You guys love your buses. I'm almost tempted to put a bunch of eyes in here. And the bus full of eyes, but maybe not for this one, maybe because this is kind of serious, but it'd be fun to have a bunch of eyeballs just sitting through here. But I can always add that in later. It's just a fun thought because I have some ideas that I want to do in the future with these buses. All right, folks, it looks like we're almost ready to... Oh, you guys are great. All right, let's get this thing. Okay, so the last thing what I'm going to do on here is I'm going to throw an outline around this bus just to make it pop out. So if you guys want to cut it out, Johnny, if you're going to cut this bus out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a really quick outline around the back to give you a cut line if you need it. So I'm going to go ahead and do it in a blue color and add that in there. And then this is really just going to be, as I said, a cut line that's going to go around this bus. Sorry about that. All right. One of the things I forgot to do on here, on that shadow layer, was I wanted to add a little bit of black line in the fluting, or in the things. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my airbrush and I'm going to go just underneath here. Now that really brings that metal out. Make sure I've got all my shadows in here as I want them to be. Cool. All right, so we got this thing rocking together here. All right, jump up here. Hey, Jeremy. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go and start tackling this thing and hitting it with my final last layer, and this is where I add my white outlines. This is kind of what makes my stuff a little bit different. I have a tendency to put white outlines on everything, so I'm going to go ahead and outline my vehicle. This just kind of allows me to tighten everything up. So I like to put the black line a little bit below here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin to outline some of these elements in here where I want them to stand out from how they kind of get lost. You can kind of see how this bumper's kind of getting lost. It's kind of getting lost in this drawing. And so what I'm going to do is now make sure that I can exaggerate some things in here so that they stand out. I'm going to soften up some of these lines in here as well. Now I'm going to go back in here and throw a little bit of an accent line on all these ribs, which will give the appearance of light hitting off of them. And when it hits against that black, it'll give the essence of believability with light and it curving. Almost done. Yeah, we're going to be doing lots of fun ones, that's for sure. All right, let's get this outline taken care of here. Thanks, Neil. Just making sure I've almost wrapped everything up here. Okay, I'm going to soften up some of this white in here. I've got some lines that are a little bit too heavy in here that I want to dumb down a little bit. All right, folks, I think that's about it. I think I'm going to run through that one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that tighten things up here. I think that's about where I'm at. I'm going to add a little bit of chrome highlights on here in a couple spots that I want to focus on. Perfect. Okay. I think we are good to go, folks. I'll go ahead and take this off here. Let me sign my name here real quick, and we'll get that taken care of. A couple things I'll probably go through here and change up, but let me go ahead and all right, first official drawing of 2019. There's a couple things in here I might want to change up here, but I will do that off camera. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of kind of what I was working on. You guys could see that. Follow me as well. Let me throw down a little bit of shadow down in here. And there we have it. All right. So I'll take this off, and let me move this stuff out of the way. Move this over here so you guys can see that. I'll take this camera off here, and we'll show you. So here you guys go. Here's that Model 15, I believe it is, and Model 15 Eagle bus all done up, and it's going to be made available here probably pretty soon here, as soon as Neil and Johnny get to on the page, get it all marketing. So anyway, awesome. So hey, you guys, hope you guys have a great day. But just kind of wanted to show you what I've got going on and what we did with this Eagle 15. So thanks, guys.